Good morning. Today is Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. My name is Jillian Major, and I'm a Sunday school teacher here at First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ in Muskegon, Michigan. Each week, I'll share a story and an affirmation from the Progressive Christianity curriculum, which First Congregational Church has purchased, but we do not own the copyrights to. Our lesson this week is called A Drop of Water, and our affirmation is as follows. In stillness, I experience the peace of spirit and to know my true self. Our story is called The Storm. The 12 disciples had been with Jesus all day as he taught to crowds of people. The crowds were growing as word spread about Jesus and the healings that happened wherever he went. As Jesus walked along the shore of the Sea of Galilee and then stopped to speak, the people followed along. Today, there had been so many pressing close to Jesus that the disciples struggled to keep them back. There were countless numbers who wanted to be healed of their illness, comforted in their grief, or freed from their fears. It was difficult for the disciples to see their suffering, but they stood by Jesus and tried to protect him from the onslaught. It was Jesus who thought to step into a boat and speak from there. The shallow water kept people back, and he spent hours teaching with stories and wisdom new to their ears. As evening came, Jesus told the disciples it was time to leave. They gathered into the boat with him and sailed east, away from the sun that was low in the sky. Everyone was tired, and Jesus went to the back of the boat and lay down on some cushions. The experienced fishermen, James, John, Simon, and Andrew, handled the boat with skill, and the others settled in for a couple hours of peaceful sailing. Without warning, conditions on the water changed. Wind rushed down from the high cliffs on the eastern shore, and whitecaps appeared on water that had been calm just moments before. The boat rose and fell with the rising waves, and the strong wind made the sails flap violently. James and John struggled with the sails, while Simon and Andrew battled expertly to keep control of the boat and keep their precious cargo safe. They didn't want to disappoint Jesus or let anyone get hurt. The fishermen had all experienced these sudden storms before and knew of lives lost when the weather turned fierce. The others didn't know what to do. Water surged onto the boat, and they tried to hang on and help at the same time. Jesus had not yet stirred from his resting place, and they marveled that the tossing of the vessel had not awakened him. Fear caught hold of each of the disciples as conditions grew worse, and they all realized the black shoreline was far away. Darkness had replaced the warm colors of the setting sun. It had been only minutes since the storm hit, but it felt like hours to the panicked disciples. Some prayed and some shouted for help as they bailed water from the bottom of the boat. Others cursed the terrible wind. They all wanted Jesus to comfort them, but only a few were bold enough to make their way to the back of the boat and shout at their teacher. "Teacher, wake up! Don't you even care that we will all drown?" Jesus immediately woke and rose to look around. His eyes took in each of the disciples, the tossing boat, the turbulent waves, and the lashing wind. They all watched and waited for his response to the dire circumstances. Jesus appeared steady and unshaken, despite the rolling boat and splashing waves. He spoke with a strong, clear voice untouched by fear. "Peace, be still." The disciples felt the words of their teachers as much as they heard them. The wind stopped and the sea calmed, as if in response to his command. The disciples felt their wildly beating hearts also become calm, and their fearful thoughts lifted as the clouds parted and the last light of the day reflected in still water. Jesus gazed at each of the disciples in turn. His eyes were full of love, but his words surprised them, considering how close they had been to disaster. "Why were you afraid? Where is your faith?" As they turned down the eastern shore, they all felt the stillness of the wind and sea, and the violence of the storm seemed distant. They wondered about what they had seen.